Hi, gang, it's Adam.
And Patrick.
Coming up on today's episode, we welcome back Chris from Wishful Thinking to discuss Disney Genie, the return of crowds, and holiday offerings as we explore the current normal in Walt Disney World. As always, we cover the latest Disney news and close out the show with some quick D. All that and more on today's episode of Gaze to the D.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Patrick Pilgrim Buckle Kazaki.
A statement piece is what that is. Adam, pecan pie. Hummel.
You know, Patrick, you know how much I love a pecan pie.
So delicious, so scrumptious, so sugary, but that's okay. I just made my very first homemade pecan pie this past week.
And the result, tell us.
Delicious. Turns out it's just sugar and eggs, everybody. I'm here to let you know that you too can bake sugar in the oven.
You made a pre-holiday pie. Was it a warm-up, a test pie?
Kind of, yeah. I think I'm going to pivot and make some pecan bars instead of a pie because they go a little bit further, I feel like.
You can stretch out those bars as needed.
You can indeed. Adam, it's Thanksgiving week.
Here in the States, it is Thanksgiving. We are not as smart as our neighbors to the north who have Thanksgiving in October and say, let us digest for a month before we move on to the Christmas holiday season. Yes, it is Thanksgiving in the States.
It's true. It's my very favorite week of the year. It's just that perfect time of year here in Minnesota, in the Midwest specifically. That crispness is in the air. It's just a nice, relaxing week for everybody. For most people, I shouldn't say everybody.
And we have one other thing to celebrate, Patrick.
What might that be?
Your birthday.
Oh, for goodness sake.
That's right, folks. On Thanksgiving, as you're diving into all of those delicious foodstuffs, also think about Patrick because it will be his birthday.
These are the last few days in my 30s, everybody. And boy, am I excited to no longer be in my 30s. I don't know. I'm trying to stay positive. I'm trying to keep it real.
There's nothing scary about turning 40 except for the fact that you can no longer properly process foods.
Well, that's been a problem for a while, so that's not really new.
Also, things on your body start to droop more.
Again, I've been practicing this for years, so I think I'm fine. It'll be an easy transition.
You have nothing to be afraid of then, Patrick.
Nothing whatsoever. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Do you have any Thanksgiving plans this coming week, Adam?
I do indeed. We're walking 6 whole blocks to my brother's house where we will be feasting like kings and queens and undecideds.
I love it. Well done. Well done. Family time is always a great time.
I assume you will also be enjoying some family time?
2 family times, in fact. I'm spending the morning with my parents. I'm going to have Thanksgiving breakfast with them. I might make a sweet potato frittata. Oh, for heaven's sake.
Oh, my.
Who am I? And then in the afternoon, we're going to go to Dan's cousin's house. They're throwing a new traditional Thanksgiving with a barbecue instead of, the traditional turkey and stuffing and all that. So we're going to have an outdoor barbecue on the farm.
I like that. I like when people mix things up a little bit and you can expect the unexpected.
Bring in the new, everybody. Let's not say non-traditional. Let's say new traditional.
New traditional. I love that, Patrick.
Thank you so much. We're putting on a t-shirt. Look out for it in our GDTD store.
Speaking of new things.
Ooh.
We have a brand new Patreon family member that we need to welcome to our Thanksgiving table.
We sure do. Have a seat, Scott, at our family Patreon table.
Now, normally you say have a seat to someone you want to calm down or tell off. But no, we're welcoming you, Scott. We're saying come, sit, eat, chat.
That's right. We have a GDTD Patreon round table that we want you to have a seat at. And thank you so much for joining our family. This is yet again, Tweedles, you're amazing us week after week after week. You're joining the ranks, the army now, I think, of our Tweedle Patreon family.
Very grateful for all these new additions. Very thankful, you might say. If you are interested in joining our Patreon family, head over to gazetothed.com and click on that donate button. And there you can learn about every single thing that Patreon membership entitles you to the benefits you will receive from becoming a Patreon family member.
Yes, upwards of 2 to 3 benefits. And I'm here to tell you, worth it. Worth every penny.
Everything Patrick is saying is the truth, so consider it. Head over to gazethroughthed.com and check out that donate button. And let's just keep the thanks going, Patrick. We're so grateful because last week we had a bit of an Instagram scare.
We did it. We've arrived, everybody. We are being copied on Instagram.
It only took 2 3/4 years, Patrick.
All good things come to those who wait, and this is a great thing. We're being copied because people are just so jealous of us, you know?
For those of you that don't know, we're going to be announcing the winners of our Thanksgiving giveaway a little bit later on in this segment, but someone created a fake account claiming that they were reaching out to the winners of the Thanksgiving giveaway. Needless to say, several resourceful Tweedles reached out to us right away and said, "Hey, is this really you?" And I said, "No, it's not. Report them immediately." And so many people jumped on that bandwagon, that great bandwagon, and reported the account and took it down. So we are grateful for that. Thank you so much.
Tweedles, you took them down like a force, a force of Tweedles rushing for help.
You did indeed. So thank you again. Patrick, let's talk about last week's episode, shall we?
Let's do just that, keeping the Thanksgiving theme going. Last week, we started the Thanksgiving theme with a episode of On the DL, Disney Legends We're Thankful For, and we had some feedback from you all.
Scott reached out. You can find Scott on Instagram at Sater69. Scott says, want to give a shout out to Rolly Crump, who helped design the best Disney attraction of all time, the Haunted Mansion, but also, as we saw on Behind the Attraction, coulda totally got it. #woof.
Yeah, he was an attractive man.
And unafraid to experiment with facial hair because there's some images where he has like one of those curled mustaches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had a real facial hair story going on. It was great.
He had a flair for the hair, Patrick. Yes, Scott, he was very attractive, and thank you for mentioning him. We actually featured Rolly on one of our On the DL segments. That was way back in episode 59, where we talked about Imagineers who worked on the Haunted Mansion.
That's right. I believe this was our very first On the DL episode, wasn't it?
Was it our first? No. Was it our first?
I think so. I may be wrong. Who can say? But I'm probably right, Adam. It's my birthday. I'm probably right.
You're absolutely right. I can't challenge you on your birthday, Patrick.
I will play that card, but once a year. And when I play it, you have to respect it.
I think you've played that card more than once this year already.
Well, I'll be playing it several times today, but yeah.
Thank you, Scott, for that feedback. We also had a lovely DM from 2 gentlemen named Peter and Donovan, who you can find on Instagram at cmusicpiano. And the reason we included this was because, of course, they call out Chris from Wishful Thinking, who will be on this episode a bit later.
I mean, it was meant to be. It was meant to be, everybody.
Peter and Donovan say, "Hey, guys, we discovered the podcast in August, and by September, we had booked our first trip to Disney World for the 50th through Chris at Wishful Thinking. We had an absolute blast and just wanted to say thank you for inspiring us to make our Disney dream a reality. We especially appreciated the tip on the dessert parties. We locked in the pre-party a month ahead of time and ended up being seated next to another fun gay couple, also from Los Angeles. Our other favorite tip was feathered friends in flight. We were absolutely blown away, and I cried when they released the blue macaws. Thank you for all the amazing recommendations."
You're welcome, you guys. You're very, very welcome.
As I was reading that, I was like, did we really include this because they mentioned Chris, or is it just so flattering? Well, thank you, Peter and Donovan. We appreciate you reaching out, and we're delighted that you had such a fantastic trip to Walt Disney World.
Absolutely delighted. Well, moving on, Adam, should we get into This Week in Disney History?
Let's hop right in.
Let's hop right in, everybody. I have some fun Disney history tidbits for you. Let's start out with the youngest one. 10 years ago, on November 23rd, 2011, Disney's The Muppets was released in theaters. It had been 12 years since The Muppets released a movie prior to this. The movie wasn't necessarily a box office smash. With a budget of $45 million, it brought in just over $165 million worldwide, which certainly isn't bad, but, you know, not a smashing success for a Disney movie. But it was, and still is, a critic and fan fan favorite among the Muppet movies. In fact, it is the highest rated Muppet film on Rotten Tomatoes with a 95% rating, followed by The Muppet Movie, the original Muppet movie, and Muppets Take Manhattan.
Muppets Take Manhattan does not deserve the third position, folks.
A lot of people don't know about Muppets Take Manhattan, I think is the problem.
Discover it.
You can't discover it, unfortunately, on Disney Plus. It is not a Disney-owned property. But go out there, watch it. It's Muppets at their finest. But The Muppets, the movie, The Muppets, still surpasses in fan gratitude and love for The Muppets.
I'm ashamed to admit I haven't seen it. I've only seen the very beginning of the film, the musical number, which is so charming.
It's actually a wonderful film. I really like it too. I would place it second in my list of Muppet movies.
After Muppets Take Manhattan.
After Muppets Take Manhattan, because that's one of my favorite movies in general.
Agreed, Patrick.
Well, happy anniversary to the Muppets. Moving on, 27 years ago, on November 23rd, 1994, the third version of the narration track for Spaceship Earth made its debut in Epcot. Actor Jeremy Irons provided the new voice for the attraction, along with new orchestration by Edu Giudice. This version would be replaced, of course, in 2007 by the current version with Judi Dench.
A lot of people consider that Jeremy Irons version like the version.
I've heard that. I have not experienced it, but I imagine he's got such a soothing voice.
He does. He really does. And I know before him, I don't know if it was immediately before him, we had a Walter Cronkite version, also has a soothing voice.
Yeah, Walter Cronkite was the second voice for Spaceship Earth.
I don't know who did the first version. I don't know if it was someone super famous. We'll have to look into that.
I do know who it is, but his name escapes me right now because as I was looking this up, I was like, let me just see who all of the voices were. But it was not somebody that I recognized. It was like an Adam Hummel. I don't know. I didn't know the name.
Don't do that.
It's my birthday. Do what I want. All right, moving on. 30 years ago, on November 22nd, 1991, Walt Disney Animation's 30th feature-length movie, Beauty and the Beast, was released. With a budget of roughly $25 million, the movie has since earned $440 million worldwide. It also, of course, spawned a sequel, a live-action remake, and one of the most successful Broadway shows of all time. It was the very first animated movie ever to be nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards, which it lost to Silence of the Lambs, a very similar film to Beauty and the Beast. But it did, of course, win for Best Original Score and for Best Original Song for Beauty and the Beast. And on the very same day, in celebration of the movie's release, Beauty and the Beast Live on Stage premiered in Hollywood studios.
You all know how much I love this movie. This was one of those movies that I saw in the theater over and over and over again. I cannot even tell you how much money was spent in multiple viewings of this movie in the theaters.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast is sort of that Venn diagram for gays who love musical theater and gays who love Disney.
Yeah, it truly is. I remember sitting in that theater seat crying at the opening number. And Patrick, we've talked about how much we love Belle, the song, and how influential it was in kind of shaping how animated musicals went forward. But man, that was just such a magical moment.
And one that had to be fought for. This movie has such a deep history, and we're so thankful, happy Thanksgiving, everybody, that those who were creating it took that risk to believe that audience would sit through, what is that, a 6-minute song at the beginning of a movie?
Yeah, and to think that this wasn't even going to be a musical. The original version of Beauty and the Beast was just going to be an animated film, not a musical. And it really took Howard Ashman to convince Disney that it needed to be a musical.
Someday, Tweedles, we'll do a full episode dedicated to Beauty and the Beast, although we could probably just cut many of our old episodes together to create said episode.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But we should do it. There's just so much rich history behind it, and it's such a wonderful film and beloved film by everybody, and specifically the LGBTQ plus community.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, Adam and Tweedles, thus concludes this week in Disney history.
Wonderful, as always, Patrick. And that means it's time to talk a little bit about upcoming programming.
Let's talk about some upcoming programs, Adam.
Upcoming programs will feature questions and Peter Pantsers. That's right, Tweedles. In next week's episode, we're going to change things up a bit, just like Patrick's in-laws barbecue.
We're mixing it up.
That's right. And we're going to have a full episode of Questions and Peter Pantsers. So there's still time. If you'd like to submit a question for us, we will answer any and every single question you submit. You can submit questions by reaching out to us on Instagram. Just shoot us a DM at GDTD Podcast.
Or you can always leave us a voice memo or email at info@gazedothed.com.
We've received 2 voice memos, Patrick. It thrills me.
It thrills me because that is time that we don't have to talk on the episode. We can just vocal rest for 2 minutes at a time.
Benefits us, benefits you, the listener, too.
That's right. Yeah, most importantly, it benefits your ears.
And then the week after that, the Monday, December 6th episode, we'll be giving our spoiler-free review of Disney's latest animated musical, Encanto.
So excited, so excited. That reminds me I have to go online and purchase my tickets ahead of time. I don't want to miss out. It's going to be, I just have to say, I'm going to say ahead of time, I think it's going to be an amazing movie. I can't wait.
Well, it's hard when you're in this business, this podcasting business, this Disney podcasting business, to avoid headlines. And the headlines I've been seeing, the reviews that have already come out, are just incredible. People are raving.
We've been wrong on several occasions here on Gaze to the D. We have been pleasantly surprised and also unpleasantly angered, I would say, at movies. You know who you are. You know who you are. But I think we can safely believe that this is going to be a fun movie, if nothing else.
It's got the talent behind it. The look of it is fantastic. Yes, I am eager to check out the film. So check out our spoiler-free review of Encanto in our Monday, December 6th episode.
Well, before we move into the news, Adam, we have some more thanks to give out to our Tweedles. We are now about to announce the Thanksgiving Thanksgiveaway winners.
Very exciting. We're giving away a GDTD branded hoodie or sweatshirt and a $50 Disney gift card to 1 Instagram winner and 1 Patreon winner.
Winner, winner, turkey dinner, you might say?
I would absolutely say that. 2, our Instagram winner, Angie, who you can find on Instagram at Disney with Angie.
Angie, congratulations.
Congrats, Angie. We'll be reaching out to you via DM, and it will be us. We promise it will actually be us this time to obtain all of your information, and we'll be emailing you that $50 Disney gift card.
Congratulations, Angie. And we were talking earlier in the episode about benefits of becoming a Patreon member. One of those benefits is that you are automatically entered in your very own giveaway. Only Patreon members are entered to win this gift, and the winner is Melanie. Melanie, congratulations.
Melanie, congratulations.
Now, I happen to know, this is actually very exciting, I happen to know that Mel is, I believe, going to Disney World this holiday season, so she will be able to use this sweatshirt and gift card right there in the parks.
It's not a request. It's a demand, Melanie. You need to wear the sweatshirt in the parks.
That's true. I just sort of put that upon her, but now you have to do it. It's been put on podcast truth, Melanie. It's podcast gospel now.
So exciting, Patrick. What other podcast just gives away $100 worth of Disney money?
Probably a lot, Adam. Probably a lot. We didn't invent this wheel, but we did perfect it, I would say.
Did we? No, we did not. We did not. But congratulations, Angie. Congratulations, Melanie. We'll be reaching out. And now we're going to be reaching in to the Disney news.
I love that with a question mark. Yeah, the Disney news. Not worth $50, maybe worth $1, I would say. So the value you're getting is upwards of $1 in Disney news.
And we do not accept returns.
You cannot exchange this.
Breaking news, Patrick.
I feel like I should insert the sound of shattered glass or something. We need more sound effects on the show.
We do. We really do. People love just an onslaught of sound effects in any kind of audio experience.
Yes, we should do a morning radio DJ situation for the news next time.
Yep. Okay.
PK and Dum Dum here with the morning drive.
Oh, we have fun here, don't we? Well, we just learned of all this news, but for you, it will be relatively recent by the time you hear this. Last Saturday and Sunday, November 20th and 21st, D23, the official Disney fan club, held Destination D23 Live, a fantastic Disney celebration at Disney's Contemporary Resort in Walt Disney World. Destination D was presented by trading card manufacturer Topps. And when isn't D presented by Topps, Patrick?
I mean, I can't name a moment. I can't name one moment.
Not a single moment. As part of the weekend's events, Disney Parks Experiences and Products Chairman Josh D'Amaro presented new ways Disney is connecting fans to stories they love most through innovative projects. So just what did Josh announce was coming to Disney Parks? What updates did he give, Patrick?
I'm hoping you'll tell me, and that's why you chose this news story.
I'm going to tell you right now, buddy. When the newest ship in the Disney Cruise Line fleet, the Disney Wish, sets sail for the first time this summer, families will discover a new world created especially for them. We all know that, but the Disney Wish will premiere 2 new stage shows in the Walt Disney Theater, including Disney, The Little Mermaid, an original Broadway-style reimagining of the Walt Disney Animation Studios classic with a modern and innovative take on a young woman learning the power of her voice. The Disney Wish will also feature the show Disney Sees the Adventure, which will follow Goofy as he discovers his own inner captain with the help of Captain Minnie and an all-star cast of Disney and Pixar characters. Also announced, moving to Disneyland Park, Mickey's Toontown will be receiving a facelift, Patrick.
Same, Adam.
That's what I got you for your 40th birthday.
You know me so well.
Focusing on today's families with young children, Mickey's Toontown will feature new play experiences as well as open, grassy play spaces for everyone to unplug. One of the new areas coming to Mickey's Toontown will be Centennial Park, the first space guests will see when they enter. This natural space will be anchored by 2 interactive play experiences. At the center of Centennial Park will be a fountain designed for play, which will also become a center icon for Mickey's Toontown. And a nearby dreaming tree will be inspired by the tree a young Walt Disney would daydream under in his hometown. The reimagining of Mickey's Toontown will begin in March of 2022, and Toontown is expected to reopen in 2023. And while we're in Disneyland, let's talk about the Disneyland Hotel. Imagineers are hard at work infusing the new DVC resort property with elements that bring Disney storytelling to life, all inspired by characters and stories from Walt Disney Animation Studios' classic films. There will be a newly designed pool and recreation area, along with a variety of room types and the ability to explore the magic steps away at the Disneyland Resort. Heading over to Walt Disney World, let's talk about one of the big announcements from Destination D. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind will open to guests in summer 2022 in Epcot as part of Walt Disney World Resort's 50th anniversary celebration. We also received updates on the Tron attraction coming to the Magic Kingdom. And we learned, Patrick, very exciting, and a lot of people were anticipating this news, that Fantasmic would be reopening in both Disneyland and Walt Disney World. World of Color would also be returning to Disney California Adventure, and the Festival of Fantasy Parade will be returning to Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom.
Very, very exciting. I am on pins and needles waiting to see some of those shows.
And as if that was not enough, as Disneyland Resort teased a couple of weeks ago, the Main Street Electrical Parade will be returning to Disneyland in time to celebrate its 50th anniversary.
Oh, I love that. People love that parade.
It was also announced, Patrick, that for the first time, Magic Band Plus will be available at Disneyland Resort to enhance guests' experience.
That will be super interesting. This is the first time, I believe, right, that Magic Bands at all will be available in Disneyland.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how frequent visitors to Disneyland will embrace that kind of technology. You know, they've been using their phones for so long. Will they be making the jump to Magic Band, or will they continue to use their phones, or both? Both are also an option.
I think you have to do both right now because the technology is not quite ready.
And aside from all of the announcements and updates for Disneyland Resort and Walt Disney World Resort, Patrick, Josh D'Amaro also made a number of announcements regarding the international parks. Josh shared new footage of the new audio animatronic figures that will be coming to the Zootopia-themed land at Shanghai Disney Resort. Why don't they call those audio animaltronics?
Because they didn't ask you, Adam. That's why.
Missed opportunity, Disney. He also gave an update on Tokyo Disney Sea's Fantasy Springs, as well as the Frozen-themed area coming to life in Hong Kong Disneyland. He announced a new limited-time show, which will debut at the Castle Hub at Disneyland Paris. And we learned that Avengers Campus will open next summer at Disneyland Paris as part of that 30th anniversary celebration.
Super exciting.
So what, Patrick, from that amazing lineup of announcements and updates speaks to you the most? What are you most looking forward to?
Ooh, good question. Good question. The return of some of those shows, the Fantasmic and some of the parades, I think that'll be really exciting. I'm actually interested because I love Toontown in Disneyland, and it does need a facelift. And so I'm excited that they're doing that. They're giving it a little love as it desperately needs it, I think.
Yeah, and so smart, I think, to renovate that space to include green spaces for families to take a break. A Disney Parks trip can be exhausting for the mightiest of adults, right, Patrick? So when you think about those little ones who are having to walk just as much as we do, it'd be great for them to have a little place to take a break or to have a quieter moment during a very busy day.
Yeah, absolutely. Missed opportunity, though. I think they need to call that fountain a fountoon.
Okay, so you just had a brilliant idea. I had a brilliant idea. What are these worth to you, Disney? Stock options? Do we get stock options?
That's all we want is 51% of the company. That's all.
That's all.
I have a few fun news items in regards to Walt Disney World, items that were not included in Destination D. 25 years ago, cast members at Disney's Contemporary Resort buried a time capsule at the resort, which was to be opened during the 50th anniversary. Recently, 3 cast members celebrating their 50th anniversary with Walt Disney World were invited to open the time capsule. Inside, they found a limited edition Disney's Contemporary Resort 25th anniversary coin, a 1996 edition of an employee newspaper, which featured a 16-month countdown to the grand opening of Animal Kingdom, an anniversary poster of Cinderella Castle in its infamous birthday cake overlay, and a bow tie worn by the general manager of the resort at the time. The contents of the capsule have been archived and will be kept safe so cast members can look back at Disney history for years to come. And in hilarious news, crash landings have officially been added as part of the show for Kite Tales in Animal Kingdom. In a real turn lemons into lemonade moment, Disney decided to capitalize on the enormous character kites that keep crashing into trees and audiences. The new audio intro to the show informs guests that what goes up must come down in an attempt to make crash landings at the end of the show look intentional. And with each crash comes a sound effect to help make it look like it's all part of the show. So now when a giant Simba lands on you at 30 miles an hour, you'll know that Disney did it on purpose and you are not allowed to sue them.
Kite Tales feels like one of those Disney attractions or experiences that will be lore someday, right? Like, I was there for Kite Tales. I experienced Kite Tales.
Yeah, if I was a betting man, Adam, and you know I love the slots, I would say that Kite Tales is not long for this world. I don't know.
Last week, a lot went down at the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions Expo. 2 expos I reported on this week, Patrick.
It's true. I love when you report on a lot of things going down. You know what I mean?
Okay, you can say that because it's your birthday.
Thank you so much for remembering.
There were honors and there were awards upon awards upon awards, Patrick. And let's talk about those awards because awards are everything, aren't they?
Yeah, you're nothing if you don't have an award, Adam, and we are nothing.
Not a single award or recognition for this podcast. Not one. Walt Disney Imagineering was recognized with 3 Brass Ring Awards, recognizing industry, innovation, and excellence. Disneyland Park's Magic Happens Parade received a Brass Ring Award for Best Atmosphere Street Show Performance. Oogie Boogie Bash, a Disney Halloween party at Disney California Adventure, was awarded the Brass Ring for Most Creative Halloween Haunt, Show, or Experience. And the Remy's Ratatouille Adventure Remy Feature Plush was recognized with a Brass Ring Award for Best Plush Item. Also at the IAAPA, the Themed Entertainment Association, or TEA, announced 3 coveted Thea Awards will honor the talents of Walt Disney Imagineering in 2022. Imagineering's innovative Stuntronics technology will receive a Thea Award for Outstanding Technical Innovation for the Avengers Campus Spider-Man robotics figure that makes its own real-time decisions when to tuck, somersault, and slow down, just like you, Patrick, while soaring 85 feet in the air.
Not just like me. I need an adult to help me out with most of those things.
You need an adult to help you tuck, for sure. Mm-hmm. And 2 incredibly accomplished and influential Imagineers will also be honored with Thea Awards. Retired Imagineer Doris Hardoon will receive the Buzz Price Thea Award, recognizing a lifetime of distinguished achievements developing projects for Epcot, Disney's Animal Kingdom, Tokyo Disneyland, and Disneyland Paris. Her international work continued through Shanghai Disney Resort in 2016, where she developed culturally relevant details for the resort. Carmen Smith will receive the Thea Catalyst Award, presented to an individual who has recently made an important impact benefiting the themed entertainment industry. With Carmen's newly expanded purview as Senior Vice President for Creative Development, Product, Content, and Inclusive Strategies for Disney Parks, Experiences, and Products, her positive influence and impact connecting with guests around the world will continue to grow. As we pointed out on the podcast previously, Carmen also is working to diversify external partnerships and collaborations and ensure thoughtful representation and engagement throughout the creative development process. So 2 very, very worthy recipients of Thea Awards there, Patrick, in Doris and Carmen.
Yes, 2 amazing women we have mentioned many times here on the podcast for their contributions to Disney, and their contributions, I have to imagine, are going to continue for a very long time.
And some really nice recognition there, Patrick, for Magic Happens, which I believe has only happened for like 2 weeks before the pandemic and then has not happened since.
Magic happened, I think, is what they have to call it. It was recently announced that Disney will be investing resources for the Latin Grammy Cultural Foundation's Scholarship Fund. The Latin Grammy Cultural Foundation is dedicated to providing education, equity, access, and success, and preserving Latin music for generations to come. The scholarship fund to date has provided nearly 300 scholarships at a $6 million investment. It has provided scholarships to students from 24 different countries, granting them access to quality education. And fun fact, 100% of the students who have received the scholarship have gone on to graduate. Disney's support of the foundation will provide education equity and will develop a pipeline of future Latin music creators. A quote from Tanya Ramos Puig, president of the Latin Grammy Cultural Foundation: Disney's commitment to diversity and inclusion via storytelling reflects our own mission to celebrate, elevate, and preserve Latin music's cultural heritage. Additionally, coinciding with this donation and with the upcoming release of Encanto, Disney will be donating funds to Colombian organizations that promote youth and community development through access to education. The grants will support a project that will expand access to music education across the country.
We should consider creating a scholarship.
Who would this go on to benefit, Adam?
Maybe not someone who has their heart set on podcasting excellence, but just like good enough podcasting, like that kind of mid to lower level podcasting.
Excellent adjacent.
The GDTD Excellence Adjacent Scholarship.
We'll revamp Tiana's song Almost There to Not Quite There.
And I don't have the energy to go any further. That's another lyric. I just can't get there.
You're never gonna quite get there. I think does that fit us?
That's us to a T. Anna, Patrick. Walt Disney World, Patrick. She ain't what she used to be.
Am I right?
Am I right, though? There have been a number of recent developments, changes, additions, what have you, to Walt Disney World's parks and experiences and apps and hotels and restaurants and the holidays. Patrick, the list goes on and on of things that are changing at Walt Disney World Resort.
Yeah, things are evolving rapidly, minute by minute. Right now, I think even while we're recording, there is a new park added to Walt Disney World. I'm sure of it.
We're happy to announce it. Save it for Quick Tea, though.
Fair enough. But to navigate all of this, I don't want to call it a mess, but it's a little bit of a mess right now in Disney World in a great way because there's so many offerings that are being thrown at us every single day. We once again are inviting Chris from Wishful Thinking to help us explain and navigate how you can experience Walt Disney World.
You know him, you love him. He's been on the podcast multiple times before. Chris is a full-time authorized Disney travel planner specializing in Disney destinations, but of course, including Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disneyland Paris, Tokyo Disney Resort, Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney, and Aulani, a Disney resort and spa in Hawaii.
So many things and more. It actually goes beyond Disney, his expertise, but we are going to specifically be talking about Disney as we are a Disney podcast. And it should be noted that when you use Chris's services, it is absolutely free to you. You can be as involved or as uninvolved in the planning of your trip as you want to be. Chris can handle everything and anything. And we also want to note that now that international travel is starting to become a thing, and international travel to a Walt Disney World park here in the United States can be a little bit tricky, you can use Chris's services. He will help you with those international travel plans.
You can find Chris online at wishful-thinking.com, and you can find him on Instagram and Twitter at wishful_thinking. That's thinking, THNKNG.
And you can find Chris right here on the podcast right now.
Chris, welcome back to the podcast.
It's good to see you guys again. I wish you guys were here, although I have to tell you, it just got cold. I've been in Orlando since I saw you last, since I saw you guys for the 50th, and a cold snap has just arrived. And when that happens, they put out a weather forecast that predicts that iguanas might freeze and fall from the trees.
Oh, no.
Did you guys know that? So that's a thing that happens in Florida. If it gets really cold, the little lizard creatures, because they're cold-blooded, like they just stop moving, but they're not dead. And then they can fall and land on you. And then there's always stories of like visitors who presume they're dead and then pick them up and put them in their hotel rooms. And then when they rethaw, they reanimate and then freak them out.
Wow, that needs to be a movie.
Frankenstein iguanas.
Mm-hmm.
It has been lovely. I'm not gonna complain. I do not miss my Midwestern freezing. It has been snowing up in Minnesota, right?
Off and on.
Yeah, I can't complain. It's been lovely here. It's been lovely, but there's going to be a few cool nights coming up. That said, it's great to be here. It's great to talk to you guys. Let's talk about the new reality.
Let's do that. You know, you mentioned seeing us in Walt Disney World for the 50th anniversary. What was that like for you? Did you enjoy meeting us?
I did, although it's some people you meet and you feel as though you've known them all along. I really do think we would have been childhood friends if we'd grown up at the same schools. I was like that theater kid, though, and you guys would have been my competition because I would have been like, I'm going to get the part, not Adam, not Patrick. I'm going to be the lead. So maybe we would have been rivals like in Glee or something.
I am 5 feet shorter than both of you, so I don't know that we would have been up for the same parts.
Perhaps, but we could have been like little theater geeks together. That would have been fun. Anyway, yeah, it was great to meet you guys. It was also great to be able to hear in real time, because you guys are both so smart and you're both such Disney fans, but you know how to look at things and appreciate them within the context. And it was just so great to hear you guys as firsthand reactions to stuff. I genuinely appreciated that.
Aw.
That was very nice of you to say, and this segment will continue because of that great answer you just gave. So thank you.
So you guys were here just as things began this transition. And I do think that You're lucky because, Patrick, you were able to visit last year shortly after things had reopened. And we were in that era where you could kind of just take a spontaneous trip, come down here. There was no fast pass. You didn't have to worry about reserving too much in advance. It kind of felt like the way things were in the olden days. I mean, it was kind of lovely, wasn't that?
Yeah, just like my life, really. I could wander aimlessly around with zero direction. It was great.
We both commented in the episode after our trip, the episode that focused on our trip for the 50th, how fantastic it was to kind of have that freedom to not be tied down by fast passes, to be able to wander around, to do whatever we wanted to do. It was a really great trip, that last trip.
Yeah. And y'all, this is why I'm here, because that era is over. The crowds are back. They're absolutely back. And there's a number of ways that we know this. A lot of guests like to look at wait times on attractions to try to decide how busy things are, but that's really not the best indicator. Disney knows how to move people around. What we can tell you as someone who is in the systems and looking at the actual booking process is how busy things truly are across the resort based on how sold out these hotels are. The fact that Walt Disney World's, all of their 36 different hotels have been completely sold out. The fact that their theme park passes are completely booked, often weeks in advance. We are really in the era where you can no longer just be spontaneous. You have to plan far in advance. So I wanted to come on really just to tell all your amazing listeners about the new reality and kind of share some good planning tips, knowing all the things that have changed, all the new stuff that's come to the parks, so that you can make sure you don't miss out on the good stuff and make sure you don't get stuck just waiting in really long lines. You don't have to do it, but we're now in that point. It's kind of like the way it was before. We're back in that point where you have to think about things. You have to make advanced plans. You have to have a good agenda. And ideally, you need to have an expert on your team who can help guide the way.
Well, that's why we have you here with us, Chris. I can attest to the fact that hotels are selling out fast. I will be there in January for the Run Disney event, and there is not a room to be found. If you don't have a room yet, you will not be getting a room during that week. So we're so glad we have you on the podcast to sort of help us navigate what I like to call, and I think we both like to call now, the current normal. I think the new normal is a phrase that we maybe need to get rid of because things change so rapidly. But the current normal at Walt Disney World.
I think that's true. And it's important to note that Disney, over the years, really has learned how to spread their crowds out. One of the reasons why Run Disney events are scheduled when they are is because they know to put them during the periods that are generally low travel times. So January, historically, before, back in the olden days, January was a time where things were really slow in the parks. So Disney figured out, hey, let's put these gigantic events, let's schedule them just off the peak times, and then we can fill up all of our hotels. So between the Run Disney events, the various cheerleading competitions, all the kinds of things they do to draw guests to come and visit during those times, Disney really has learned how to spread that out. That's also happened within their park pass system. The fact that everyone is now required to have a theme park reservation for the days that they visit means that Disney can spread out those crowds within their 4 parks. So Disney has a level of control and a level of kind of allocation that they have never really had before. And that's especially true when we talk about Disney Genie service.
Yes, which both Patrick and I have questions about because we were there just prior to Disney Genie Service's launch. It's been a couple of months now. We've had some testing going on. Chris, we've seen you in the parks day after day after day, kind of giving Disney Genie Plus a real test. So I guess the first question we have for you is purchasing Disney Genie Plus worth it?
Yes. However, it's important to consider how you want to experience the Disney parks. And so this is where, with my clients, I take them on a case-by-case basis and try to get realistic about what they're hoping to accomplish, what kind of experience they want to have in the park, how quickly they're going to make it into the park, how late they want to stay, because it's not quite so cut and dried as if you definitely should all purchase Disney Plus for the whole experience. So let's back up. I know many of your guests are big Disney fans and they're paying a lot of attention, but I'm sure there's a few people that have just avoided thinking about this. So let's explain just what Disney Genie service is. You are certainly very familiar, and I think a lot of folks are familiar with the Disney World app called My Disney Experience. This is connected to the My Disney Experience website and even the mobile site. But the app has new features that are woven in. So Disney Genie is not a separate app. It's not a new thing. It's just new features within the existing Disney World app. And the best way that I like to describe it is, especially for anyone that has a car who's ever used the Waze app, which gives you a way to navigate the streets that you might not have otherwise thought to do, but ideally it's helping you avoid traffic. Disney Genie service is a free option within the Disney World app that helps you navigate the park and ideally avoid crowds. So the first thing that it allows you to do is to prioritize the things that are most important to you. You can tell Disney Genie on the day that you're going to Magic Kingdom, you can specifically identify attractions that are most important to you. You can identify characters you might want to interact with, whether those are princesses or whether those are the classic Disney characters. You can even identify restaurants that you like and entertainment that you're hoping to experience. And it also folds in your dining reservations. And then after you've told Disney Genie what you really want to do, it creates a free customized itinerary, literally hour by hour, minute by minute, that guides you through your day. So what I've done is I've gone into the parks, all 4 parks, and I've used this, again, free service to follow the orders and the suggestions that it creates. And by and large, it's very effective at telling people where to go to avoid waits. Now, it's a system that is clearly learning in real time. But one thing that Disney really has that no other third party has is access to millions of bits of data about how guests visit the park, how the traffic flows, where they go, when they go. Disney's been having these RFID-enabled magic bands on wrists for years now, and so they really know how the traffic flows through the park. According to the earnings call, only about a third of Disney guests are currently using Disney Genie service, so it still hasn't been uptaken by the majority of guests. But again, it's new, and folks are still learning what it is. But I will say that the free version, the Disney Genie service, can be very effective at helping you get through your day and avoid crowds. There are 2 different areas of the app. So I'll just kind of break down some basics. The first area is called the tip board. And on the tip board, it's showing you what the current wait times are for the attractions that you've prioritized. And it's going to suggest things based on, when might be a good time to go. So you might scroll and see, hey, right now there's only a 20-minute wait at Pirates of the Caribbean, so let's head over there. And then the second area of the app is called My Day, and that is your customized itinerary. And that's where it's going to include not only the prioritized attractions that you have, it's also going to include any dining that you've got reserved, including the chance to do mobile orders at quick service restaurants. So all of that is found in the My Day area.
So just so I'm understanding, Chris, we get these suggestions of how we should plan or prioritize our day. And is this something that we should sincerely pay attention to, or can we kind of fudge it and say, no, I want to do this instead?
Great question. I would say that the way things are now, you shouldn't just follow its commands as if it is your robot leader. You should look at it with suggestions and consider those suggestions, but it always gives you the option to swap out a suggestion. So it might say, hey, right now there's a low wait for Country Bear Jamboree, but maybe we're not really dying to do Country Bear Jamboree. So there's a little 3-dot ellipsis that you can press. Then you can say swap out for another suggestion. And then it'll say, let's do a swaparoo. And it'll give you a few other things that it thinks are good ideas. So I would encourage guests to really interact with it. If you see a suggestion that you don't love, swap it out. But beyond that, you can always just kind of toggle back and forth between the tip board to see what might be nearby that looks appealing. I would say that engaging with it is going to give you strong suggestions, but there's room for spontaneity. And then once you've completed things, you can mark it to say, remove this from my day. And then it'll kind of like recalculating. It kind of gives you like a GPS advice of what the next thing's to do. But I do think that the app is very well designed. I have a bunch of friends that work in UI and, Silicon Valley, and we kind of looked at it together. There's a lot of really good design decisions there. I think it's very clear. I think it's easy to use. The glitches are very minimal. The only downside right now is that it is only on the app. And the app is only in English. So if you are not a native English speaker, now that we're starting to have international guests come in, there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, and it's going to be tricky for guests who don't speak English and aren't fluent in English. That is one thing that I'm really hoping will change in the coming months, especially now as more Brazilians start to travel to the parks.
Well, that is super helpful to know and encouraging to know that Disney is giving you a pretty well thought out free experience. We all know that Disney is not necessarily wanted to do that. So that's great that there is a free version of this app that you can use. And as you alluded to, there is also some paid services within Disney Genie. Talk us through those.
So Genie Plus is the part that has gotten a lot of attention and the part that's gotten a lot of commentary online. Genie Plus is the optional upgrade for $15 per guest per day. And with Genie Plus, you and your guests have the opportunity to use the new version of what was formerly called the Fast Pass queue. So this is a separate queue at all the top attractions where you essentially can skip the line. It's usually like a 3-4 minute wait. But that's now called the Lightning Lane. And when you and your guests have Genie Plus, you can reserve Lightning Lane reservations throughout your day. Now, the tricky realities of how to reserve them, when you can reserve your next one, it gets a little wonky. So if anybody wants details, I've broken it down in really clear, concise language on my website, wishful-thinking.com. But I will say that those who have used the Lightning Lane and Genie Plus, especially my clients who have been in the parks these last few weeks, they found that it was more than worth the $15 because, especially for some of those attractions in Magic Kingdom, it can just get really annoying to have to wait in long queues. And now that these crowds are really back, those wait times have started to really stretch out beyond 45 minutes or an hour. Even just, on attractions that you're like, do I really want to wait an hour in front of Haunted Mansion? Like, this queue is kind of hot. It's outside. Like, it's not so fun. So that $15, I do think it's worth it. But one of the questions that guests naturally have is, should I pay for these $15 upgrades every day? Or are there certain parks that I don't necessarily need it? Disney does give you the option. You can add it on to your whole vacation for all your park tickets for all your days, or you can just wait on the morning and pay $15 that morning. So I would say this. As things currently are, you'll get the most value out of Genie Plus at the Magic Kingdom and at Hollywood Studios, and a little bit less value over at Epcot and especially at Animal Kingdom. At Animal Kingdom, so many of those attractions are walkthrough attractions where you can kind of wander in and look at the animals. So you don't necessarily need to pay for the upgrade if you're only possibly waiting in a few lines for things like Dinosaur or Expedition Everest. If you know how to do things, you can get on Expedition Everest and just ride the single rider queue. You don't even have to wait in a long line. So if you've got some smart planning behind you, you really don't need it so much. Now at Epcot, there's just not a whole lot of attractions. And in the afternoon, so much of the Future World, which is now got new names, but so many of those attractions in the front of the park start to have really low wait times anyway, because guests want to go over to World Showcase and get their drink on. So if you know how to navigate Epcot, if you know to save the attractions for the afternoon, a lot of times you don't really need this. That said, there's another level of upgrade that we have to talk about, and that's the individual Lightning Lane attractions. You guys know about those?
Yes. So this is more of like an a la carte option, right? Where you can select Lightning Lane options just based on an attraction and not make the $15 commitment to Disney Genie Plus.
Yes. So for some reason, and I would say this is a little controversial, for some reason, Disney has said that for their two most popular attractions in each park, the regular $15 per day upgrade will not apply. This is going to be a separate purchase. So many people do question whether or not you can only buy individual Lightning Lane if you've already purchased Genie Plus. And the answer is no. They're two completely separate transactions. Let's say that you decide, we don't want to pay that $15. We only care about like maybe two of these top attractions in each park. Great. You can just buy them for those attractions. So at Hollywood Studios, one of those, literally the most popular attraction in all of Disney World right now, is Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. So if you want, you can just pay for that Lightning Lane. Let's say maybe you just want to get on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. You can just pay for that. Now that pricing is dynamic. So Disney has said that it will fluctuate based on how busy things are. And it can range anywhere from $7 to $15. But you don't have to buy them for each day. You don't have to buy them for each park. And you don't even have to buy them for every member of your party. So if you just have maybe 2 or 3 people that really care about an attraction, they can buy that individual Lightning Lane. And the other thing that's really changed now is that if you don't want to pay for any of this, you're free to just wait in the standby queue. At Rise of Resistance, that wait certainly gets pretty long in the middle of the day. But if you're lucky enough to be a Disney Resort guest, there's a new privilege for all Walt Disney World Resort guests, is that they're able to enter the theme parks 30 minutes early on every day of the week. So this is why I say it really depends on your individual case, how early you want to be in the park, how late you want to stay. If you're the kind of guest that like to be there right at the start, and if you're lucky enough to be staying in a Disney resort, a lot of times you can get in and you can ride on those super popular attractions before everyone else has shown up, so you can save the money.
Yeah, I will say I was skeptical before our trip down for the 50th. I know we could maybe make it to one attraction, but I was surprised at how much we were able to accomplish within that 30 minutes before non-resort guests were let into the parks.
And I will say this is really going to apply during the peak travel times of the year, because during slow times like this winter period, parks often don't open until 9. Sometimes Epcot doesn't open until 10. They're often closing at like 7-ish, 8-ish. But once we get into peak season, especially next summer, y'all, back in 2019, there were days when the park was opening at like 7, 8, staying open until like 11, 12, right? So that extra 30 minutes, it's not even so much of whether or not you're there 30 minutes early. It's whether or not you, as opposed to everyone else, is willing to get your butt out of bed at 6 a.m. Because that early minutes might mean that you're showing up for a park at 7:30 or at even 6:30 a.m. So the earlier that the park opens, the fewer people that are going to make it there and the breezier time you're going to have. So get realistic with yourselves. Get realistic with the guests you're traveling with. If you've got folks that, are going to want to stay at the park until the very end of the day, and that park's open until 10 or 11, if you're not getting home to your hotel until almost close to midnight, you got to be realistic about whether everybody's going to be out of bed, showered, through breakfast, and through a turnstile by, 7:30 or 8 the next day. So, get realistic. You, as the person who listens to this podcast, are probably extra eager. You probably have someone coming with you who is not quite as excited as you. So, try not to make them hate you by being the person that's, extra perky, which was me. Of course, that was me. When I had my friends and we went down for gay days, I'm telling them, so we're setting the alarm at 7, right? And they'd be like, what?
You've lost your
what
mind.
Are you talking? Like, what are you doing? I'm like, don't you want to see the castle show when Mickey and Minnie come out and wave to us and welcome us to the? Yeah, no. They're like, no, we'll watch it on YouTube.
I love it. I do have a follow-up question here with Disney Genie, Disney Genie Plus, and the individual lightning lanes. With the creation of these, and I'll say this currently, does this mean that virtual queues are no longer in operation within Walt Disney World?
Very, very good question. None of us really can predict the future, but one thing we do know is that it seems as though Disney is only using virtual queues when an attraction is brand new and when it's extra, extra popular. So that was the case for a long time at Rise of the Resistance here at Disney World, but now it's gone. The virtual queue no longer exists there. The virtual queue still is in use at Epcot for Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. There are 2 different ways you can experience that. The first is going to be this virtual queue. As you guys probably know, you can join that queue at 7 a.m. and then you can try again at 1 in the afternoon if you weren't lucky the first time. But they're also offering that as an individual lightning lane attraction. So let's say you didn't want to wake up. Let's say you didn't get lucky with that free virtual queue at 7. You can buy the individual lightning lane and experience it that way. Over at Disneyland right now, they're currently using it for 2 attractions, but they have said that they may modify this as crowds move on and or as more guests are using Disney Genie service.
Let me just pause for a moment and say thank you for coming on the podcast, Chris, because if you are not a hardcore Disney Parks fan, this must just be a mess to understand. Are there virtual queues? What's Lightning Lane? Do I need Disney Genie Plus service? There's just so many layers right now that if you're not following this weekly as we do, it must be so confusing to the average visitor.
It really is. And I think this is something where those of us who spend a lot of time in the parks get to see that in real time because we overhear the conversations at guest services. We see folks who just walk right up and they tap their magic bands and they're like, I thought that we could use the lightning lane like today. And they're like, yeah, but did you reserve it on the app? And they're like, oh, what's that? Like, we see that there is an information curve out there.
Mm-hmm.
So not only am I really glad to be able to explain things to your listeners, but I hope your listeners know that they can directly contact me, and I'm more than happy to help them. And it's literally my job to help them navigate these things.
Okay, so now that all of our Tweedles are just as confused as they were before on Disney Genie, no, just kidding. You did actually clear up a lot of my questions anyways, so I feel a little more equipped when I'm there for my next trip. But let's transition into what are some other new things that guests can expect now that the 50th anniversary is well underway within the parks.
So as you guys saw on the beginning of the 50th, Disney is doing a whole bunch of stuff, but their plan is to continue the celebration and have it be consistent from now for a total of 18 months. They're really stretching this out. They have said that more enhancements will continue to arrive, but much of what they're doing for the 50th is here, it's in place. So one of the things that I think has gotten a lot of attention are the beacons of magic, the icons of each park. So that's going to be Cinderella Castle, Spaceship Earth, the Hollywood Tower Hotel, and the Tree of Life get transformed each evening with new illuminations, new light effects, and the theme song for the 50th, which is The Magic is Calling. But the one at Spaceship Earth in Epcot, it's exquisite. You guys know this, but I was a cast member at Epcot, and it is the closest park to my heart. What is happening there is so Epcotian. We need an adjective for something. Epcotian. It is quintessential Epcot. It sounds and it feels like Epcot. So if you are an Epcot person, you've got to make it out to the front of the park to watch that happen. And it's not just like the 20-second tag. There's actually like a whole show that follows with this beautiful score. It's just spectacular. Love it. But beyond that, there's a bunch of other stuff throughout the park. So the characters are being presented in new iridescent outfits, in different cavalcades. The 50th has also brought new snacks. Like, they're going overboard with all these like very photogenic, very Instagrammable snacks, thankfully, which happen to taste delicious. Every single one that I've tried has been really, really good. So don't show up at Disney World on a diet. It's gonna be tricky. Beyond these 50th things, they've chosen the 50th as the period to premiere these new experiences. So that's over at Epcot. That's Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. It is a fantastic attraction. I know you guys got to ride it. Can you remind listeners and what you thought of it?
I mean, it was fine. No, I'm kidding. I personally loved it. I think it's one of my new favorite attractions, at least within Epcot right now.
Yeah, you know it's a successful attraction when you get 6 gay men on it and they're like screaming and laughing and crying. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I love it too. And then there's, they've just literally announced that in summer of 2022, Epcot's new Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is going to be opening. We've got Tron opening over at Magic Kingdom shortly after that. So this 50th is going to incorporate some new attractions and experiences, new restaurants and things. Beyond that, we have new nighttime spectaculars. So you guys talked on the podcast a few weeks ago, but Enchantment is the new fireworks show happening in the Magic Kingdom. Harmonious is the new nighttime spectacular happening at Epcot. And I will say that part of the realities of the way things are now is that nighttime spectaculars have not returned to all 4 parks. So we don't have any real nighttime entertainment in Animal Kingdom. And the major nighttime attraction of Hollywood Studios, which is Fantasmic, has not yet returned. They're doing some refurb and construction over there. So it looks as though that's going to be at least several months off. So one of the realities of how things have changed is that with this new nighttime entertainment, specifically at Epcot and Magic Kingdom, we're seeing a lot of guests who park hop to those parks in the evenings. So it does mean that Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom kind of empty out around like 5-ish. So for those of you that are wondering when to enjoy some low wait times, that's where you get to do it. Beyond that, there's some new character meet and greets that are starting to return. I shouldn't say new, but Mickey is showing up in his new outfit, and he's once again greeting guests personally inside the Town Square Theater. The princesses have started returning to Princess Fairytale Hall. So if you got somebody with you that really wants to actually talk to a princess, that was the only downside of those character cavalcades. As much as it was lovely just to kind of have them spontaneously glide by you throughout the park, if you had a kid who like wanted to have a conversation with one of those characters, like the most you might maybe get is like, "Hi, princess," and then they're gone. So I know that I do have a lot of clients who have kids that, have been waiting for years to specifically tell Belle about their favorite book. Now you can do that again. So those things are nice. And character meet and greets have returned not only at Magic Kingdom, but throughout Epcot, actually. There's a lot more face-to-face characters. So those are some of the things that have returned and that are new. There's also a bunch of new stuff for the holidays. We should talk about that. Have you guys ever been to Disney World during the Christmas holiday period?
I have. And Patrick, you've been just post-holidays, right? Like in January?
Post-holidays. I have not been there for a holiday party within the parks, but I have seen the decorations.
And the decorations are great. The thing is, I'm someone who grew up loving Christmas, but as I became an adult, I got a little cynical about Christmas, I think. To be honest, that was partially because I spent a few years when I was an actor in New York where I had to work retail during Christmas. And if anything sours you on Christmas shopping, it's having to anyway, I wouldn't wish that on many people. But one thing that I like about Disney is that kind of slightly cynical over it part of me somehow just melts away when I come to Disney World at Christmas time. I can't even explain it. But seeing the characters, seeing the holiday parties can be really, really rejuvenating for me. And Disney has brought that back with a new event they're doing this year, which is Disney's Very Merriest After Hours. So you guys talked about the Boo Bash a few weeks ago. This is in a similar vein. What Disney has essentially done is they've combined two events. Their long-standing After Hours event, which really was just a chance to enjoy the parks after it closed and just about everyone else left for an additional cost. And then they folded in the elements of the long-standing Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. What this now is a private event. It's a separate ticket, and it is deeply, deeply restricted in terms of the number of guests that get to be here. So what you're able to do is go on as many attractions as you like over and over again with really no waits. Plus, they've added all the entertainment that was part of the Very Merry Christmas Party. So that includes a castle show and a brand new fireworks show, which, to be honest, is even prettier than Enchantment. It's just really, really lovely. But they've brought back Disney's very first parade in Walt Disney World since the closure. They've brought back essentially that holiday parade that was part of the Very Merry Christmas Party. And I love that parade. It is cheesy, but it's just delightful. And it makes me feel like a kid inside. And I can't help but love it. The only real downside of this event is its price tag. It is expensive. It's even more expensive than a normal day at the Magic Kingdom. But what I've had is many guests who have chosen to replace their typical day at the Magic Kingdom. Instead, they're spending one of their theme park days somewhere else. And then they just visit the Magic Kingdom during the party so they can go on the top attractions they really want. They can enjoy some holiday fun, and then they get to stay in the park until 1 a.m. If you got little kids, maybe you can't pull that off. But if you're grown-ups, if you got older kids, it's super fun.
That's the way we did it. When we went down, we used the Christmas party at that time as our Magic Kingdom quote unquote day.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to go. It is a pricey ticket, but there are still tickets available. So if you have a trip planned anytime in the next few weeks and you need tickets, reach out to me. I can set you up with those. But they've also brought back other holiday stuff that was not here last year. I know you guys haven't seen this, but Epcot has, during the Festival of the Holidays, they've got storytellers in the various countries of the World Showcase that talk about the traditions during the holidays of those particular countries. And this is entertainment. So these are character performers. These little mini shows are anywhere from like 5 to 10 minutes. They're very entertaining. They're typically really funny, and they give you the chance to learn about how other countries celebrate the holidays. I really like them. It just gives you another fun thing to do as you're drinking your way around Epcot World Showcase.
And if you're so inclined, after you've had a couple of beverages and you feel like you know the story better, hop up on that little stage and you tell it, why don't you?
The stages when they're just wide open in between the shows, someone easily could. And you know what? Those are my friends. When I'm at the club, my friends are the ones that get on the Go-Go Boy perches that the Go-Go Boys show up later. They're like, that's my spot. Like, Those are my friends. So I need to get some of them down to Epcot for the festival holidays.
What a quick way to be removed from the park.
Listen, there are a lot of versions of holiday treats that, the alcohol goes down so smoothly when it's tucked in amongst all that eggnog and everything else. But honestly, y'all, like some of those treats have already started showing up. Now, the Festival of the Holidays officially starts on November 26th. But it goes through the 30th. This is one thing that I will say is a little bit of a bummer. If you show up right after January 1st, all of this entertainment has finished. The holiday decorations are usually up until about the 4th or the 5th, sometimes a little longer. But the entertainment does stop on the 30th or on the 31st. But let's talk about New Year's Eve. You guys, last year, there were no New Year's Eve celebrations. Those are back this year. And I have been in the parks for New Year's. It is incredible. So for this year, they've got New Year's celebrations happening at Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, and Epcot. Now, they haven't announced everything, but they typically love to just go overboard in terms of fireworks. Over at Epcot, they typically have DJs in multiple countries where you can actually dance, like get your actual dance on. And then over at the Magic Kingdom, that certainly is a more family friendly, there's no liquor being sold. So you'd have to be very clever to come up with a way to get drunk in the Magic Kingdom. But if you're at the studios or at Epcot, you can absolutely bring in your new year with a whole bunch of other people. I will say, if anyone's coming for New Year's, get in touch with me, because the hard part isn't getting in. The hard part is getting home. That could be a challenge.
Well, it depends on who you meet, right? I mean, it could be easier.
That's what he means by getting home from there, from your next destination.
That's where the younger me would go up to cute boys and be like, "So, are you staying at the Swan or Dolphin by chance?" Hey, you got a room at Beach Club. You're kind of cute. Seriously, those hotels within walkable distance from the studios or Epcot, those are the ones that sell out the fastest for New Year's. If you're lucky to have one of those, you've done well. And if you want to think for next year, now's the time to start thinking, because we can grab those as soon as they become available.
Well, speaking of whose hotel you'll be staying in that night after some drinking at Epcot, just kidding. But this is actually a good transition into some news or new things that we can expect around some hotels. I know a little something called Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser is now accepting reservations, and then also some dining within the parks as well.
Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. Oh my gosh, you guys, I've never seen guests more excited about a Disney World stay than my clients who have booked that experience. So bookings are now open. The first few months are sold out. But if you are a Star Wars fan and you are in the mood to really live out a Star Wars experience, as you might have seen, a number of reporters actually just visited and got to write about it. So that includes Amy Ratcliffe and a bunch of other really great reporters. They are super stoked, and so are my clients. So one thing that is great is that it is a 2-night and 3-day experience, but you can build a whole Walt Disney World vacation around it. So if you come to me to set things up, I can not only get you into the Star Cruiser, but I can also build your Walt Disney World vacation beyond it. And people are doing things specifically for May the 4th, which is kind of the unofficial Star Wars holiday. May the 4th be with you. But beyond that, my gosh, I think it's going to be a really great experience. It is pricey. It's even a little pricier than an actual Disney cruise, but they are presenting it as a voyage. From the moment you arrive until you leave, you are part of a story. You get to dress up. You get to be a character. You get to choose which side you want to be on. And during the 50th, we had the chance to meet an Imagineer, one of the Imagineers that was working on that. And so he told me a few things that I'm not allowed to say. But I think it's going to be great. I just, who knows what I'm going to be able to afford it, but I would love to do it. Beyond that, the resort hotels are doing really well. They used the closure to finish some renovations that had been in the works for a long time. So renovations have completed at Saratoga Springs, Art of Animation, the All-Star Resorts, Port Orleans. They've got a bunch of new features, new spiffed up floors and storage, and all kind of better amenities. But they've also just opened the brand new Swan Reserve next to the Swan and Dolphin. I had the chance to tour that the other day. It's a lovely, lovely hotel. So although things are very, very busy and things are really booked up, you've got a lot of good options to recommend. I would say that folks are still curious and maybe need to know about the dining situation. As you guys might have heard in the last earnings call, they did report that social distancing and physical distancing considerations are going to be in place through at least the middle of next year. And one of the major areas that's impacting things is in restaurant capacity, especially for some of those older buildings that maybe don't have the newest HVAC systems. They are still not seating at full capacity. So certain restaurants like Hollywood and Vine, Topolino's Terrace, they're still not seating 100%. So it is still very hard. If anything, it's harder than it's ever been to get dining reservations. So we are really in that era where you need to think far in advance. And it's not just like the nicer, more expensive dress up places. These are even just the casual table service restaurants that are basically the same price as a quick service, but they're filled up. So we really need to be on point when it comes to planning both our hotel and our dining. Things are really booking far in advance. One thing I do want to comment on is that there are many terrific hotels beyond Walt Disney World. And because of the way that the amenities are structured now, there is a lot of value to be gained by staying off property. For example, historically, you really wanted to be in a Disney World Resort hotel because you wanted to have that advanced access to the fast pass reservations. As people might remember, those who had a Disney Resort reservation could book their fast passes at 60 days, and everyone else couldn't book them until 30 days. And so for those top attractions like Slinky Dog Dash, if you weren't in a Disney Resort hotel, you had no realistic chance of getting a fast pass for those attractions. But the way that Disney Genie is now structured, you make those decisions the morning of. And so you can save quite a bit of money by staying in a hotel just over in Kissimmee. You now have equal access to get some of those Lightning Lane attractions, essentially the same access as everyone else. Now, we do need to make a caveat. For individual Lightning Lane attractions, Disney Resort guests can book those at 7 a.m. Everyone else has to wait until the park opens. For Rise of the Resistance, you might want to be a Disney Resort guest. But for most of the other things, you can save quite a bit of money, stay off property, but then go ahead and pay for Disney Genie Plus service, and you're now getting access to something that you had to have a Disney Resort hotel previously.
That's such a great point. Another amenity that came with having a Disney Resort hotel reservation was the Disney Magical Express, which we all now know is also ending. So that is no longer an amenity that comes with staying at a hotel on Disney property. That being said, what do you envision? Because I know that doesn't start until next year, the first of the year, I believe. What are you hearing or seeing in regards to transportation to and from the resorts, to and from the airport, etc.?
You are correct. Disney's Magical Express was the complimentary airport transfer that all Disney World Resort hotel guests could use to get from Orlando Airport to their hotel and back. It is ending as of the last day of the year. However, the company that has long been providing that service was like, well, hey, we still got our buses, we still got our drivers, we'll be happy to take you. But rather than it being folded into the cost of your hotel, it's now something that you purchase. So it's called Mears Connect, and their cost is $32 per adult, $27 per child 9 years and below for round trip service. So if you have a larger group, that's a chunk of change, but it is an option that is available to you. For many clients, I often book them into their own private transfers. You can just get your own van that can transfer you and your family, friends, whatever. It's usually about $70. And it carries all of you. So depending on how many people that are in your party, it actually might be cheaper for you to have your own private van than for all of you to pay for a ticket on board their new Mears Connect. You can also get taxis and Ubers, but here's the reality, guys. There are not enough Uber and Lyft drivers to accommodate all the guests that are coming in. And all the folks that are thinking that once Disney's Magical Express is gone, they're just going to get an Uber. I have to warn you, I had clients who showed up the other night. It was raining. The parks were getting out, so Ubers and Lyfts were completely unavailable. It was literally, they opened their app and it said no cars available.
Wow.
So here's what I'm going to recommend. If you are hoping to do an Uber or a Lyft, first off, I like Lyft better. I find that the pricing is better. I also just like their corporate culture more than Uber, so I definitely encourage folks to get Lyft if they haven't. But you can pre-schedule your trip. So like the night before, you can enter your destination, your starting point. You can select your pickup time, and then you essentially prepay and pre-schedule it. That's a good way to go. If you are stuck at the airport or anywhere on Disney property and you need something now, hate to say it, but if you choose one of those higher priced options like the luxury version or like the black cars, those do typically show up. So when everyone else is still waiting for a car that's not available, if you're willing to pay twice the price, you might get your ride. That said, within Walt Disney World, the rest of the transportation really is back at capacity. So the gondola waits are lower than they had been. The regular resort bus waits are lower than they had been. Same for the water taxis. So that is one thing that's nice. We're seeing Disney's been struggling to staff up, but they have been able to get their transportation teams back.
Good to know. Good to know. I do have hopefully you have a quick answer to this. For the Mears Connect, do you happen to know when you do purchase that service, are they allotted times that you ride those buses, or are you just paying for the service and you have to wait in line still?
You're paying for the service and you're notifying them of when your flight is going to arrive. So they're keeping an eye on their traffic flow, but my understanding is they're going to be, to be honest, we don't know yet because it doesn't start until next year.
Sure.
But my understanding is that they're going to be having regular departures throughout the day. I can't imagine they're going to have quite as many departures as they've had with every guaranteed Disney guest. I wouldn't be surprised if you're waiting longer at the airport than you had been previously. So those are the considerations. But again, we're waiting to see.
And since we're kind of talking about advanced planning here, Chris, with transportation, what regarding Disney parks is now the thing you should be planning around? Because those who have been in previous years, it was about fast passes, right? You would kind of plan your park stays around fast passes. What are you planning around now that those don't exist?
Theme park reservations. Disney is still restricting how many people can come into their parks every single day. So you are still required to reserve your park well in advance. And what guests are experiencing, unfortunately, some guests, especially those that are staying off property, maybe they're over at Universal, they just wanted to get a day or two at Disney. They didn't even know or realize they had to reserve their theme parks in advance. And they're finding that the park they really wanted to enter is booked, especially on weekends. The annual pass program has returned. And so the calendars are really filling up weeks in advance, sometimes months in advance. Here's the thing. As soon as you have a Disney resort reservation, or if you have purchased your theme park tickets, as soon as you have that, you can reserve your theme park days. And so that's something that I do for my clients. It's something you're really going to want to do right away. We are already seeing, obviously, the holidays. Most of those holidays are fully booked for at least one of the parks. But when Guardians of the Galaxy opens, that's going to be happening at Epcot. Those things are going to go quickly. So you're going to want to be really smart about purchasing well in advance and getting your theme park reservations. Once you have them, you can modify them, provided that there's availability. But it is going to be required, and I think they're here to stay.
And I know this may seem really obvious, but it's important to point out you need a theme park reservation to access a restaurant for your dining reservation.
That is correct. If you want just to go and have dinner at Epcot, you need a theme park ticket to get into Epcot, and you also have to have a theme park reservation. That said, let's say that you have a park hopper ticket, which allows you to visit more than one park on a day. You're only making the reservation for the park where you want to begin your day. And at 2 p.m., you're free to visit any of the other parks until the final park closes for the day.
Right. So if you have a dinner reservation at Epcot and you're starting your day at Magic Kingdom and you have a park hopper ticket, you will not be making a reservation to get into Epcot that afternoon.
Won't be necessary. You'll be free to enter anytime after 2 p.m. That said, they have always held out the caveat that theme park hopping is open to park capacity. So as you may recall, at Magic Kingdom on October 1st, they actually started limiting the number of people that could enter per park hoppers in the afternoon. We'll probably see that happen on Christmas Day and the day after Christmas, and again on New Year's. Beyond that, I highly doubt we'll see that anytime soon.
That's good to note, though, just in case for our Tweedles out there, if you are making a reservation for a park that you plan to hop to later, you're not guaranteed to get into the park. So you may have to pay that fee to cancel day of.
Patrick, you're correct. However, if you ever have a dining reservation that you think you might not make it, the trick that we always tell our clients is rather than just cancel it that day, try to modify it for a future date. And if you're lucky, if it's not one of those most sought after dining reservations, you can usually modify it to a day way in the future and then just, conveniently cancel it after you've done that.
I love it. Hot tips here on Gays Do the D. Forgive me for this transition, but speaking of hot tips, Gay Days is coming up in 2022 in the parks. Both of you are shaking your heads on Zoom, and that's fine. That's fine with me. I made my choice. But it is maybe a good transition because now that we've talked about the current normal within the parks, let's talk about what we can look forward to in the future, and that is Gay Days, which has not been around for like a year and a half now.
I wanted to talk about this because I'm looking at the hotel availability for the spring, and I know people are going to want to come in June, and y'all, I'm seeing those hotels already filling up. This is one weird thing about my job is that I'm constantly in the inventory for Disney Resort hotels, and so I can advise clients, FYI, folks, this is what's looking good, and this is where you need to move quickly. And June is already, we need to move. So one thing that I'm super excited about, as you may have recalled, there was a few years there where the two competing organizers of some of the Gay Days events were like, what if we did this at different times of year? And so one of the organizers wanted to do things in the traditional first weekend of June, and then the others tried to move it to the summer. Thankfully, they're all back to the first weekend of June again. So there are two major organizers of the private events that are held around Walt Disney World. One is called One Magical Weekend. Their events start on June 2nd and continue through the 6th. But they've got one of my favorite events that's happened for the longest time, which is a party in the water park. Now, back in the day, it was at Typhoon Lagoon. This next year, it's going to be at Blizzard Beach. That's on Friday, June 3rd. But that is, guys, I love the Disney water parks. You've heard me talk about this before, but they're even more fun when you're surrounded by a bunch of queer folks with a great DJ, on the beach. Oh man, it's great. So I'm super excited for that. That's called Riptide. And then the official Gay Days, literally that phrase is the trademark of Gay Days Orlando. Now they've got events from the 31st all the way through June 6th, so even longer. But what always happens is that they kind of unofficially announce specific days where you go to the parks, you wear a red t-shirt. This has been true for decades now. And I just find these weekends surprisingly inspiring every year because I always see queer folks that don't look like the folks that I normally interact with just in my regular social life. I always have the chance to see older couples, many of whom have been together for a really long time. And I feel like we've talked about this before, but the queer community in America so often really struggles with kind of rendering people invisible that are not kind of on our apps or at our gay bars. And one thing I love about going to Gay Days is I get to see queer couples who are raising kids. I get to see bi folks. I get to see trans folks, and the visibility of that community within Disney parks where they are so warmly accepted, where they really feel that freedom to be themselves. I just end up feeling rejuvenated by it. Now, obviously, if you are a party person, there are parties that are ready to carry you into the wee hours of the morning, and that's super fun too. But if you're someone like me that is probably going to go to bed relatively early and still going to be annoying my friends with be like, it's 7 a.m. Let's go. Like, I still always have a great time. So if you are thinking about coming here for Gay Days next year, I really encourage you to, but definitely reach out. We're going to want to get your hotel reservation now.
That's so beautiful what you said, Chris. And it's so important for people to remember that during these Gay Days in Orlando, when you're at the parks, you're not going to be seeing godlike figures like Patrick and I. You will be seeing all walks from gay culture.
Oh boy. Yeah, no, you're right though. With the red shirts, you don't have to wear them, but when you do, it is a spectacular sight to see within the parks. Adam and I had the chance to go to Gay Days in Disneyland, and it was really inspiring, as you said. And talk about visibility. It is such a day to be visible and to live out and proud. It's amazing. I recommend it to all of our listeners out there. Whether or not you identify as being in the LGBTQ plus community, you are welcome to participate.
And I always love overhearing the conversations that folks have with kids in their families. Like, I get to hear parents explaining to kids about who queer people are. I also see allies who show up who are straight, but show up in red shirts or show up in like rainbow outfits. So I have talk to families where mom and dad have specifically planned their trip because they want their kids to grow up with an awareness that queer people exist, that there are same-sex couples, and they want an age-appropriate way to expose their children to the realities of queer life, just so that their kid knows that their parents are going to accept them if they ever identify as LGBTQ plus, or if they, become friends with someone. I just think it's a delightful thing, and I hope that it continues for a long time.
All right, Chris. Well, thank you so much for being so generous with your time. And before we wrap up, let's talk a bit about how using a authorized Disney travel planner can really take the load off of those that are planning a Disney parks trip. Because as we've just covered, there's so much going on. Things are changing daily. How can using a service like Wishful Thinking really enhance the trip prior to even going?
So before I became an agent who focused on Disney destinations, I had never used one. And I think it's because I was fearful that I would constantly be getting upselled, that they would be, trying to talk me into spending more money. That's just not how we work. One thing that's great about having an agent is that we are authorized to not only give you great advice, but Disney really trains us and forces us to know the latest details about what's happening. So I have clients that are in the parks every week where I'm continually checking in with them. I myself am in these parks, and I'm a member of a very large agency where we collectively help one another to give the best advice and tips that we have. But beyond that, it's not our job to upsell anything. We simply want to give our guests the best experience. I know that if they're having a great time, if I can help them do something on their budget, that they're going to have a great experience. And ideally, we're going to have a long-term relationship. But when you have an agent who is attached to your reservation, we can fix things when things go wrong. And unfortunately, things do go wrong. Sometimes you don't get a confirmation email you're supposed to have. Maybe Disney misspells something. Someone's name has been left off of a certain reservation. Now, unfortunately, throughout the travel industry, wait times on call centers are abysmal these days. And you guys, that is unfortunately really true. Just even calling up Disney Dining, they will quote you a wait time of over 2 hours. Calling up the Walt Disney World Resort to fix a reservation can take literally hours of waiting on hold. When you have an agent on your reservation, you literally just send me a text message. Hey, Chris, can you move our checkout date to Tuesday instead of Wednesday? That's it. And then I fix it for you. So the key thing is, though, is that you do need to set up the reservation with an agent. You can't just come to me if you're going to Disney World and ask me to fix things. I do actually have to create your reservation. So come to me. My services are free to you, but here's how it works. If you set up a Disney booking through me, whether that's a hotel or tickets, even sometimes just private event tickets, Disney pays me. If I handle your booking, I earn commission. That's how it works. So it doesn't cost you anything extra. It's free. But then you get to use me, and I'm available to you from the moment you book all the way until you're safely back home. The other thing that I can do is I can also set up your Universal tickets and your SeaWorld tickets and your Busch Gardens tickets. Once you're authorized with Disney, all other competitors are like, hey, we want to get you on our team. And so if someone, like, I have clients, people who have listened to you, who have done their Universal tickets through me, and Universal actually has a special perk. If you buy Universal tickets through Wishful Thinking, you get into the park an hour earlier than regular guests. They throw some perks to certain agents, so that's something that I have for folks. But I can also do off-property hotels. I can do guest homes. I even have a great Airbnb that I can recommend for folks. So I'm happy just to give people good advice. And ideally, if they feel like they've got somebody who's advocating for them when things go wrong, I also know how to call guest services when things go wrong and get things fixed. You guys might remember we got stuck with some unfortunate, very long wait times for food when we were at the Magic Kingdom. And thankfully, I know who to bug in order to get some recovery when things don't go the way they're supposed to go.
I will say something that's not part of your spiel, but I always add it to my spiel about you, is that one of the perks you get with working with Chris is that he will be honest with you about things you may or may not enjoy and things that he does not enjoy or does not recommend sometimes. And that's okay. A lot of agents out there, a lot of people out there are want to sort of sugarcoat things for you. And Chris is very honest with you. And I think that goes a long way and is invaluable.
I think realistic expectations are the most important things. There are parts of the Disney experience that are straight up magical, and that's how they're designed. And there's other parts that are not. So if I give folks reasonable expectations, not only are they prepared, but they can make sure that everyone who's traveling with them is prepared. So if you have to have things in mind, like, so-and-so doesn't handle such situations so well, or, on really hot days, we need to make sure that we're, prepared in this particular way, I can help guests know kind of what to expect. And then ideally, work around those things to really reduce the headaches. That's the goal, to get more magic, less headaches. And also, I don't want folks to miss out on things. Some folks are here every few months. We have, listeners that we all know who come down here a few times a year, but a lot of folks save up for this. It becomes a very big deal, and they're trying to get as much out of it as they can. So ideally, I can help point the way, plan trips, give good advice so that they can really load up their days with the best experiences.
Well, thank you, Chris. This information has been invaluable. Again, we've covered so much today, but if people do want to get a hold of you online or via social media, how can they find you?
So if you go to my website, which is wishful-thinking.com, there's a big red button right on that homepage. And if you want to plan a trip, or even if you're just thinking about a trip, go ahead and click that button, and that'll help you just answer a few easy questions. But my phone number is literally listed at the bottom of the website. It's also on my Instagram. You can always just shoot a text message. It will literally come to my phone. On Instagram, I'm at wishful, then underscore, and then THNKNG. That's also my Twitter handle. But the website also, guys, I've put a bunch of new information on the Disney World section of the website. So if you are planning your very first Disney World trip, go click on the Disney World page and explore that info. There's a lot of really key info. One thing that I always hate about those Disney blogs is that they write articles and then they might tell you something, but then months later, those articles are out of date. My goal is to have a clear, easy to navigate website that's got up-to-date, concise information to key you in on the most important things to know. So go and explore the website. There's a lot of helpful tips there.
I've got news for you. It's not just blogs. Sometimes it's podcasts. They have the most out-of-date information as well.
And people also love to watch the YouTube channels, many of which I really love, but YouTube is going to auto-suggest videos that may be 2 or 3 months old. And especially in this current era, that stuff changes really fast. I always overhear guests in the park saying, "Oh, I thought we could do this." And I know the reason why they thought it is because a YouTube channel told them they could a few months ago, but it doesn't apply anymore. So that's another reason to have an agent, is that you can talk to me and I can say things like, "Yep, that's not the way it is now."
Fair enough. Well, thank you again, Chris. As Adam said, this has been extremely valuable and helpful. I know specifically to me, so I assume there's at least 1 or 2 Tweedles out there who also got some valuable information from you. So thank you as per usual.
And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Every client that has come to me by listening to this podcast has been completely delightful. So if you're out there and you're thinking about it, obviously, I'm friendly. I love to help. So please reach out. I would love to meet more of your listeners.
Yeah, let's throw Chris a challenge. Who out there is just an absolute jerk? Let's see how Chris works with the jerks.
You're sending me back to my days in retail. Don't make me run away.
Gobble, gobble, Adam.
I'm going to attempt to do an actual turkey sound. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm never ready for this, but actually, strangely, yes, I am ready. And that's forever, everybody. That is forever here on the podcast.
That's right. So I guess I should have done Patrick.
Interesting that you don't appreciate my drum rolls, and yet you just did a Patrick drum roll.
I wouldn't say I don't appreciate them. There's a certain recognition I have for them. There's a sense, a moment that happens. I get the connection that the Tweedles have to them. Yes, I get it.
A reverence.
Yeah. Let's not go that far.
Okay, great, fair. But Adam, as per usual, we do find ourselves at the end of another episode, which means, of course, it is time for a very thankful quick tea.
I'm very thankful that we've reached the end of this episode.
It's good to be thankful for things. It's good to practice appreciation.
It's true. And Patrick, What Quick D category will we be exploring this week?
Well, unlike my Thanksgiving dinner this year, we're going to go back to Classic D, Adam. Back to Classic Quick D. That's where Adam and I ask each other a question we have not been privy to prior to recording, and we answer it off the Thanksgiving cuff.
Those pilgrims, they loved their buckles, as I mentioned at the top of the episode, and they loved their cuffs, Patrick.
They loved a sensible cuff. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Who's asking first, me or you?
Oh, let's flip a coin. I've flipped a mental coin, and you are asking me first, Adam.
Honored to be going first, Patrick. You know, it was recently announced that a Grogu, that's right, a Baby Yoda balloon would be joining the lineup in this year's Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
It's true. It's true.
And that Grogu balloon would be the very first Star Wars balloon ever included in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Hard to believe.
Shocking. Shocking, you might say.
I might say that. I'm going to say it. It is shocking, yes. But Patrick, I was wondering, what other Disney characters deserve to be celebrated in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade with their very own balloon? Who do you want to see just so large and in charge, floating down Broadway?
Such a great question. Top of mind, I think we need to have a Bob Iger balloon floating down Broadway. So he's so handsome, Adam. I do want to see a balloon version of Bob Iger.
Do you believe his attractiveness can be conveyed via helium?
I think it'll translate. I want to see a Bob balloon.
A Bob-loon.
A Bob-loon. So that'll maybe kick off the Disney parade of new Disney icons, I'm going to say, floating down Broadway.
Great, sensible choice to kick off the parade.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I also think we need a couple of iconic scenes from Disney movies translated into giant balloons. Right at the top of my head, I'm thinking where Scar drops Mufasa off of the cliff. I think that would be a real think piece, you know, and a celebration of The Lion King on Broadway.
Broadway's back.
I like this. I like this journey.
So far we've got a Bob Iger balloon or Bob Loon
Yes.
and Scar killing Mufasa.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I also love that I asked for characters, and so far you've given me Bob Iger and a scene from The Lion King.
It's my birthday, Adam. I do what I want.
You got to sneak that last one in, don't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've said that many times before. And the last balloon, I think, needs to just really be a bust of the two of us.
Oh.
Our two heads just floating down Broadway.
Oh, God.
Doesn't everyone want to see that?
I don't know about everyone, but there's a few, I would imagine.
Just two floating gay heads down Broadway with maybe some microphones in our hands. Maybe it's just a hand and a head.
Not unusual to see two gays with microphones walking down Broadway, but when you see two giant gay heads with microphones, that's something special.
It's true. It's true. It's also the theme of my next birthday party, a hand and a head.
Okay. Wow.
What?
Will this be held in conjunction with your in-laws barbecue?
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Oh, dear. Well, speaking of Thanksgiving, Adam, it is time for my question for you. As many of our Tweedles know, we do, in fact, have a crystal ball here at the GDTD studios in which we can see what's about to happen. We can't change the future, but we can comment on the future. Adam, is there anything that happened over Thanksgiving that you want to explain or just address here right now to our Tweedles?
Things that I've done?
I think you know what you're about to do.
Well, no one knows me better than myself.
Or us, or the two of us. Who can say?
First of all, I would like to apologize for crashing your in-laws barbecue.
You were not invited, but you were welcome to show up, I guess. What you did was unexplainable, though.
Patrick, if I honored people's choice not to invite me to things, I would never be going anywhere.
It's not so much that you weren't not invited. It's just that we didn't want you there. That's the thing.
Wow, the wordplay on you. Amazing.
Thank you.
I'd also like to apologize for insisting that we gravy wrestle at the barbecue.
I also want to apologize for going along with it.
I was shocked, but you were game, and we both stripped down and wrestled in gravy.
What a delicious after meal event.
It was actually pre-meal, and then we insisted people use the gravy.
Oh, no. Oh, no. I will say I do like that you're apologizing for things. I didn't say that you did anything wrong over Thanksgiving, but you immediately went to all the things that you did in fact do wrong over Thanksgiving.
Oh, you just wanted to know things that I did?
You may want to address some things here to our public.
Does that not imply that I've been a bad boy?
I do want to imply that you should never say that sentence again.
That will do it for this episode of Gays Do the D. Thanks for listening. To become a patron of the podcast, visit our website at gaysdothed.com/donate. For a donation of any amount, you can receive exclusive Gays Do the D content and help us continue to bring you the very best Disney news and discussion. Continue the conversation after this episode on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast, and submit your questions or show ideas to info@gaysdothed.com. Have a great week, everybody. See you real soon.